All right, today I'm going to show you the details of our single circuit thermostat controller with a Gfep built in. I want to explain the parts of this, the ways to hook it up, and how you can adjust things with this for your project. First off, I want to start with the box itself can have holes drilled in any position. The controller typically will come to you in a fashion similar to this one, where it only has your thermostat, your LED light, and nothing else around the box. So that way you can drill your holes where you need it for power to come in and for your heat cable to come into it. So this particular box I have right here is a good example, showing we have a port on the back side, showing that this is where our power source can come into the controller. And then we have a hole pre-drilled down here. This is where our heat cable would come in. And this particular box, that's how we set it up. It can be customized based on your project. Let's go into the details on the inside. The inside of this controller, I want to start with the thermostat right here. The thermostat is mounted in a position where you have a little nub of metal that stands up. This is a positioning point. And this white disc that's on the thermostat can be adjusted from 0 on up to past 100 degrees. And the thermostat itself can be adjusted according to when you want it to turn on. Most of the time we will set these things at around the 35-degree point. This is not specific enough that you can say, I want 32 degrees exactly. The only way you're going to be able to get that is if you know it's 32 degrees outside, you adjust it until you hear it click. Okay? That is the thermostat. You also have an LED light. This will light up when the heat cable actually activates and it's in a temperature set where it's going to allow the heat cable to go. The next part is I want to show you the Gfep. So the Gfep is your protection to the circuit. This is your circuit interrupter. It has an on-off switch along with the test reset button right here, and you have a line load side. It is important to understand line load in your electrical sides. So line is always your load, is your power coming in, so fed from the breaker inside the house. Your load is typically the item taking the load of the electrical. So this is going to come out and go to the heat cable. Now, we have some terminal blocks right here, and what these do is allow us to hook various lines to this, tapping into the power or sending the power signal to certain locations like our LED light or from the thermostat coming out there and coming back in. When hooking up one of these thermostat controllers, you're going to end up sending your line coming in from your heat cable, and that is going to tie into the back side of these terminals. Now, these terminals do not have specifically a neutral or a hot unless it's 120 volt. You will see a neutral or hot based on white and black wires. And when the heat cable is hooked up to that, it technically doesn't matter which bus wire you hook into which one. So you can hook it to either one as long as they're done individually to each one of those terminals. This terminal block here that's green and yellow is your ground block. So your ground wire from your heat cable coming in needs to tap into your ground block. Now, in the tools that we have recommended, you will have a precision screwdriver that's got a flat head on it. These are narrow, they're long, so that you can get deep down in and turn these things the way you need to and tighten them down. So it's important to have some of the right tools to do this. The other thing I want to explain is your power coming in. For this particular box, it's going to come in through the backside right here. So if we tip that this way, you can actually see our port right here. That could be conduit, could be SJO cord, it could be Romex, we don't know. Depends on the project, but that will come in and wrap around to the backside right here and tie into the line side of our Gfep breaker. So those tie in at that point, and then of course it feeds the rest of the system. Now, in many cases, your control box will be mounted in different positions Your holes will be drilled in different places depending on where the source is coming from and how you want it set up. A common question that we have that some people wonder about is bringing your heat cable into the control box. So we recommend using SJO, which is a power cord that is rated for outdoor. It's chemical, weather resistant, UV resistant, and a CGB, which is provided through our source on heatcable.com. When you prep this, you always need to make sure you have enough of the wire exposed coming into this so that you can do the hookups properly. In this situation, we're going to be bringing it in from this point and bringing it over to these terminals. So I would say you're going to want to give yourself about 10 inches of wire to work with. Standard National Electric Code is at minimum 6. So if you got to go a little bit further, make sure you got the right amount. To hook up your CGB and to mount this, obviously you can see I have pre-drilled my hole, and I'm going to go ahead and mount this by unscrewing the lock nut off the back of the CGB. I'm going to put the CGB in the hole, and then I'm going to put the lock nut on the other side. I'm going to turn the CGB and hold the lock nut steady. The lock nut is designed to grab the box from the inside, so it'll hold itself once you get snug. At that point, you can take a pair of pliers, channel locks or something, and tighten up the CGB to where it's snug and secure. At this point, you can remove the outer parts of the CGB and mount those to your SJO. There are three components to this. You've got the ring that tightens everything down. You've got a pressure washer, and then you've got your grommet on the inside. Remember that these do go in order to properly function. So you're going to take the ring and slide it on to your SJO. Then you're going to put the washer on the SJO, and you're going to slide the rubber grommet onto the SJO after that. And give yourself plenty of room so that you can feed this in to your box. At this point, your rubber grommet will slip and sit inside of the CGB. The pressure washer will end up sitting right there, and then your tightening ring will be threaded on the outside. Tighten that down and get it snug enough to where a pair of channel locks is probably best in this situation, but these do fine for this at the moment. But you're going to tighten that down, and what that does is it's going to press the rubber grommet into place, sealing around the cable and the CGB port. So this will also hold. I'm pulling on that with a good tug, and I cannot get it to come out. So that's going to prevent this from coming out, being pulled on. It's also going to prevent water from getting in there. So it seals that nice and tight. At this point, you can have this stripped off on the outside, exposing your black, white, and green ground, and hook those up to the terminals as needed. So that is the proper way to set this up. Hook up your heat cable to the control box and have it ready to go. These controllers can be built in various sizes and accommodations. This is the basic single circuit with a GFEP, terminal blocks, and an LED light. They do come specific to 120 volt or 240 volt, so we do have to specify your project like that. So if it's a 120 volt system, you want to order a 120 volt controller. If it's 240 volt, order it specifically to that. But if you have additional questions on these controllers, feel free to reach out. Again, here at heatcable.com, we are the source for all your needs on controllers and heat cable accessories. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, Eric Wimmer here with heatcable.com.